Love is beautiful. It's amazing. Everybody loves love. No one can express its beauty in words. So we are not trying to explain its beauty, but we are about to try to solve a love problem in our style. Imagine yourself in a position where you have to make tough choices in love. You are in deep love with two persons, but you can marry only one person to spend the rest of your life. So you decided to make a choice. The problem is they are perfectly equal. Psychologically, you found no difference between the love they show in, but you need to make a choice. So, with your imagination, creativity, and science, you decided to measure their love on you. Really? Is it possible? Can we measure love? Can we express love by using numbers? But how? In order to tell something is greater than other, you need to measure them. That means you have to express their properties by using numbers. A 5-meter rope is better than a 2-meter rope because there are two numbers, 5 and 2, and 5 is greater than 2. That's easy. But what about love? Is there anything like 5 meters of love? No. There are no such things like 5 kgs of love or 5 meters of love. In order to measure love, let's take a look at how we measure length. Here's a rope. Let's say the length of the rope is 5. Length is a number you get by measuring. So, length is a physical quantity that describes the rope. Height is a physical quantity that describes you. Length, breadth, height, all are same but with different names according to the situation. But there is something wrong with this statement. Let's assume that you have an alien friend on Mars. The alien asked you to tell him your height. You send him a message like this: my height is 2. But how do the alien know what is 2? Is it 2 rocks or 2 mountains? Are there any common objects on Earth and Mars to tell him your exact height? No. So we need a standard measurement that holds everywhere in the universe. That standard measurement is a unit. So the proper way of telling your height is, my height is 2 meters. Meter is the unit of length. A meter is exactly the distance traveled by light in vacuum during a time of 1 by 299,792,458 of a second. So a meter is constant, no matter where you go. Like this, we have units for time, mass, and other physical quantities. These quantities are so fundamental, we can define them only by describing how to measure them. These definitions of fundamental quantities are called operational definitions. But what about love? First, we need to define love like all the other physical quantities. But wait, is love a physical quantity? I think instead of asking what about love, maybe we should ask what is love? It's complicated. If you Google what is love, it says an intense feeling of deep affection. If you look at the definition scientifically, it looks like love is a derived quantity which is based on the fundamental quantities, feeling and affection. And affection is a feeling. It makes clear that love is an emotion that we feel. But this is not the definition that we are looking for. Now let's try to define love scientifically. According to Dr. Helen Fisher and Catherine Wu, the brain is responsible for romantic love. They said love can be broken down into 3 categories: lust, attraction, and attachment. Lust is the deep feeling of desire to mate. This type of love is programmed in all the creatures that makes us to reproduce. The hormones which are responsible for lust are testosterone and estrogen, which are released from the testes and ovaries. Both males and females show higher levels of testosterone when they are attracted to someone. The next step of love is romantic sense or attraction. The chemicals responsible for these feelings are dopamine and norepinephrine. When you are attracted to someone, these chemicals make us energetic and elated. Dopamine is released when you are doing something highly pleasurable, like mating, doing drugs, or eating chocolate. It activates the pleasure centers in our brain. The pleasure center of brain is the ventral tegmental area. The VTA contains different types of neurons. One of them is the dopaminergic neurons. They release dopamine. In neurobiology, pleasure is a quantitative experience. It means we can measure pleasure. So, if we can measure this pleasure, there are chances to put a scale to love. We can measure the amount of testosterone, estrogen, dopamine, and norepinephrine released in our body. Let's take the values of these hormones released in a girl and a boy who are in romantic love. If we repeat this experiment with many such pairs, we can get a highest average value of all these hormones released. We can make that value the standard value for human romantic love. If we associate that standard value to 1, then all the romantic love between a girl and a boy will have a value between 0 and 1. If we name that standard value as heart, then heart will be the unit of romantic love. We can say a girl loves a boy 0.7 hearts. This sounds cool, we found the unit of love. But we got problems too. Finding that standard value is so hard. There are a lot of aspects that we have to measure in our body to find that standard value. First, we need a proper understanding of our brain. Of course, we have a proper understanding of human brain, but it is still a mystery to us. We need to know more about our brain in order to find out the absolute value of a heart. Another problem is love is not only romantic, it is much more. For example, the love between you and your mother. That's not romantic, that's maternal love. To understand that, we need to look at the third step of love, which is attachment. It is so important in long-term relationships. It is governed by two hormones, oxytocin and vasopressin. These hormones will be found in large quantities during sex, breastfeeding, and childbirth. People who reach this stage of love will have a long-term relationship. But the love our parents show is the third type. Scientifically, there are many differences between romantic love and parental love. For example, maternal love activates a number of regions in our brain, like the periaqueductal gray matter, that are not activated during romantic love. This shows the uniqueness of maternal love. If we try to measure the changes in hormones, oxytocin and vasopressin, we'll get closer to the unit of love. We can make mother's love as the standard value for love. But mother's love also depends on the age, health, living, money, status, power, and responsibility. And the problem is, mother's love on child may not be equal to the child's love on mother. Love also contains responsibility, caring, affection, and other feelings. You know what? When two lovers gaze at each other for 3 minutes, their heart rates synchronize. It looks like getting an absolute value for love is not possible until we get an in-depth knowledge of our mysterious brain. Even if we got the complete knowledge of human brain, we need to understand human consciousness, which plays an important role in love. This human consciousness is another tricky mystery. Even if we solve all these mysteries and found an absolute value for love, we have to face another challenge. This absolute value may not be correct for the love in other animals in the animal kingdom. Even if we found an absolute value for love for all the creatures in the animal kingdom, that standard value may not be correct for the aliens if they exist. But a unit must be accepted universally. Finally, you can't measure love perfectly with science. Love is still a mystery, so you have to try other solutions. That's what makes us humans. But imagine a world where we can measure love, affection, happiness, care, and all these feelings. It will be totally different. Everyone wants to find out how much a person loves them. They calculate love, they compare love. There will be love-o-meters to calculate love. There may be love tests that you have to attempt to choose your life partner. If people can find a way to measure love, they can find a way to control love. They try to increase and decrease love in a human. Love will become a business. Maybe mysteries are still mysteries for a reason.